Hey guys, welcome back. I have played Hulk for long enough to get to Lord with him, so I reckon I have come to get to such a proficiency with this hero that I can help you guys get better at the Hulk with this advanced guide. Whether you want to become a mean green hulking machine, or if you just want to smash everything in sight. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. It is free to do so, and it helps me make more awesome Marvel Rivals content like this. Let's get straight into the video. So in this Hulk guide, I will explain Hulk's role in the team, his moves and how to use them, combos that you can do in your ultimate mode, his different team up abilities, how you should be positioned while playing Hulk as either a solo tank or with another tank, and how to deal with each enemy character. You can skip to whichever part that you are struggling with the most on Hulk, but I do recommend watching each of the sections as they do have lots of great helpful information. Also, if you're having trouble with anything specific or just don't quite understand something, I'll be happy to explain stuff that you are unsure about in the comments below. Hulk is a high mobility vanguard who has 800 health and relies on mostly melee attacks. Because of his large health pool and great mobility, he is regarded as one of the best tanks in the game, even if he often doesn't play like a tank. Hulk's role is quite unique when compared to the other vanguards, as he is quite versatile in the ways you can play him. He can be anything from the enemy backline butcher to the team meat shield, but it is your game sense that should be determining what your role should be at a particular time. And when I say game sense, I mean situational awareness, figuring out what is happening around you and reacting accordingly. Every scenario is different and you have to be able to prioritize different things at different times, because that is just how Hulk is meant to be played. That being said, Hulk works best when there is chaos in the enemy team, where their focus isn't on you, so that you can go in and ruin the enemy's plans. He is also fairly team dependent, so you will often do better if your teammates are competent and conversing with each other, compared to when everyone just wants to do their own thing. Now before we get to understand the Hulk properly, we need to understand that puny little guy inside Hulk, Bruce Banner. Bruce's primary fire is a slow-moving projectile which does 16 damage on the body and 32 on the head. He can fire 5 rounds per second and has 25 ammo before he needs to reload. Primary fire feels extremely uncomfortable to use when you first start and doesn't get much better, but I do recommend going into the practice range and getting a feel for it before playing some actual games. Bruce also has a single regular move, which is his Gamma Grenade. He uses his weak little arms to throw out a grenade which explodes with a small 3-meter explosion radius, dealing 40 damage to enemies and launching you and any enemy hit away. This can be used to get to a higher ground, to get enemies away from you, to get yourself away from enemies, and to do a little damage to finish off enemies as well. Now when you spawn in as Bruce, you will already have your ultimate charged. It is called Puny Banner, and it transforms you into the Hulk. If you were to lose all your health as the Hulk and turn back into Bruce, the primary fire gives about 4% ultimate charge, the headshots give about 10%, and the Gamma Grenade also gives roughly 10% ult charge back for each enemy you hit. It also gives you 10% if you hit yourself with it, which is very nice. Usually we wouldn't want to stay as this little nerd, but sometimes we are forced to be, such as when our health bar drops to 0 as the Hulk. If you turn back into Bruce and your entire team is still alive, try to get back into your team for a little more safety and shoot into the general direction of the enemies while throwing out the Gamma Grenade at your feet or at any enemies coming after you, so you can recharge your ultimate to turn back into the Hulk. If your team is already dead, it is probably better to just die so that you can be with your team when you respawn, rather than delaying your death and getting staggered, leaving your team with one less tank for a while, because let's be honest, you aren't going to solo the entire enemy team as Bruce Banner. And finally, transforming into the Hulk actually refills your entire HP bar, so you can be a little more risky as Bruce when you almost have your ultimate ready. Now that we have gone over Bruce's basics, here's the Hulk in all his glory. His basic attack is called Heavy Blow, where he just punches. And that's about it, really. You can hold this down pretty much forever, and that is what you are going to want to do most of the time. Each punch does 40 damage with a pretty large range of 4.5 meters. The first ability he has is the Gamma Burst, which is a projectile that deals 70 damage to enemies with an 8-second cooldown. A great property of this projectile is that it can pierce multiple enemies, dealing 70 damage to each of them. Most of the time you are going to want to weave this in between your basic attacks to do more damage, but it can also be great to use when enemies are all bunched together in order to generate more ult charge, or just as some poke damage to enemies a little further away. Something that I like to do is jump in and use Gamma Burst while in the air just before I get to the enemy, so that I can do a burst of damage at the start of the interaction, assisting in me killing them much faster. The next move is called Indestructible Guard, where Hulk creates a spherical shield for himself and any teammates that are in a 5 meter spherical radius around him. His own shield has 200 health, but the shield for his teammates is only half of that. Even though the health of all the shields aren't very high, it generates ult charge from all the damage that it takes in. It makes everyone with a shield immune to stuns and other CC like Jeff's ultimate. And it can also protect against any single instance of damage, completely blocking things like Iron Man and Scarlet Witch's ultimate abilities. If you want to be a little bit risky at the start of a match, you can go into the enemy team and use your bubble with your Gamma Burst as well, letting them destroy your shield, generating a lot of ult charge as soon as the match starts. You could also use it as a method of entry and exit into the enemy team. Either use the shield on you and your allies as you jump in, do some damage and jump right back out to your team, or jump in, deal some damage, and when you start to get a little low, use the shield to protect yourself from more damage and enemy stuns so you can get out. The Indestructible Guard is a great tool that could be applied to your match in loads of different ways. Now we get to the last regular ability, Radioactive Lockdown. This move is a projectile like the Gamma Burst, but instead of focusing on damage, this one stuns the enemy. Radioactive Lockdown only does 5 damage, but stuns the enemies such that no one can hit them or heal them. They don't even count as on the point while stunned, which is a great method for gaining control if there's only one enemy left, while also staggering their respawn. The enemy gets released from the stun after 2 seconds, or if the Hulk hits them with a basic attack or a Gamma Burst. This move is extremely useful, allowing you to isolate players, stop heals for a little while, stun people out of their ultimates like Scarlet Witch, stall for more time, and way more. The only not so great thing about this move is that it has a hefty 15-second cooldown. We also have another ability that isn't specifically shown in the bottom right of your screen, and that is the Incredible Leap. This move is what you are going to want to use all the time, as it gives you a lot of mobility and a way to dodge things like ultimates and Wolverines. All you have to do to charge the Incredible Leap is hold down the jump button. This will show a charge bar to the right of your cursor to indicate if you can jump and how much power you will have with the jump. Jumping just as the charge is above the red bar lets you jump more often, but with slightly less distance per jump. However, jumping with a full charge will let you go higher and further in a single bound, but it will take longer to charge. It takes 0.7 seconds to charge to do the minimum jump, and 2 whole seconds of charging to do the maximum jump. You can also use any other abilities while both charging and using the Incredible Leap. Keep in mind that if you get stunned by the enemy, your charge will go straight to 0, and you'll have to charge it up all over again. The jump also has 2 other special things you can do with it. These are the ability to cling onto a wall by holding the jump key while in contact with the wall, so that you can jump again and get more height, and also the ability to knock flying enemies out of the sky, stunning them on their way down. If you manage to stun a flying enemy, which must be done at a certain height above the ground, you can also hold down your basic attack, dealing damage while they're on their way down. If you snatch an Iron Man, Storm, or anyone else out of the sky and do this, they are practically dead as long as they aren't being healed. Overall, the jump can be a little difficult to use, so I recommend going into the practice range and testing out using minimum power jumps, pinning flying characters, climbing onto walls, and everything else. Oh yeah, last thing about the jump. When you cling onto a wall, it will allow you to jump in the directions away from the wall. But if you let go of the jump in a direction it allows you to go, then flick your camera to a direction you actually want to go, you can do it for some reason and just jump in a completely different direction than you should. I think it is mainly because of the small duration between you activating the jump and then actually actually jumping, but it looks really funny and is sometimes useful for getting over things or climbing directly up a wall. Finally, we have the Hulk's ultimate ability, Hulk Smash. This ultimate transforms you into Monster Hulk, letting you deal much more damage for the 12-second duration that you have to use this mode. Also note that going from Bruce to Hulk, or from Hulk to Monster Hulk, gives you invincibility while you are transforming, which could be used to nullify a damaging ultimate, get you out of a sticky situation, or just give you extra health, as it fully recharges your health bar as well. Yes, it sounds like a lot, but you will be the sole target for the entirety of the enemy team, so you can die in this form faster than it feels like you should be able to, especially against someone like a Wolverine. You can transform mid-jump to get more distance and save time, so that you don't stay still while transforming. You can go into the enemy team to distract them and push them back. Then when you near death, you can use Hulk Smash and get a massive health pool to continue to annoy them and destroy them. Or you could just use it against half of the enemy team while the other half is already dead to finish them off. As Monster Hulk, your basic attacks have a 5-meter range and do 70 damage instead of the usual 40 damage, while also knocking people upwards. Your Gamma Burst does 125 damage instead of 70, while also moving a little bit slower and having only a 1-second cooldown. Your Radioactive Lockdown moves much faster. You cannot use your Indestructible Guard, and you start with another ultimate ability, which allows you to grab an enemy and slam them for up to 200 damage. While smashing an enemy, you get a 30% damage reduction. Monster Hulk can be used for a lot of different things, such as stalling on an objective, hurting the enemies away from the point, dealing a ton of damage, making all the enemies target you, and sending their strategists back to spawn. Most often it's going to be the last one though. Your clap has a 1-second cooldown, so you should be using that a fair bit of the time. A really cool thing with the Monster Hulk is that you can practically do some combos to almost guarantee an enemy's death. Most of the time you are going to want to juggle enemies in the air for as long as you can, so that they can't do much in the fight. Some basic combos that I like to use are as follows: punch, jump and punch, pin them in the air, and continue to punch, then repeat. Punch, jump to again pin them, punch again, and clap while continuing to punch. Clap, punch, then immediately smash, to almost instantly kill any of the squishier characters. You can get more creative with your combos if you'd like to, and I really suggest doing some playing around in the practice range or in a do match or something with Hulk to become more familiar with how he works. And now for the team-up abilities. The Hulk has 2 separate team-up abilities, but Hulk is the anchor for both of them. The first one is the Gamma Boost, which is a passive ability where Iron Man and Doctor Strange on your team get additions to their moves. Iron Man's basic attack and laser attack both deal more damage while in the armor overdrive state, allowing him to do a crazy amount of damage. And Doctor Strange gets an extra 0.1 damage per dark magic he has, up to a total of 10 extra damage when using the Maelstrom of Madness move, while also no longer becoming anti-heal when reaching 100 dark magic. This team up is probably one of the best in the game at the moment. The second team up is called Gamma Fastball, where you can pick up Wolverine and throw him wherever you want. This team up is extremely handy for Wolverine, since it is pretty much another Feral Leap, letting him do the super fast attacking more than once, and being able to kidnap enemies more often. Also, the team up goes extremely far as well, which can be used for stuff like this. And now we get into the positioning part of the video. As there are many different variables to positioning, I will just go over the basics to assist you in your decision making throughout your matches. If you are the solo tank on your team, you may have a little bit of a difficult time helping, especially if your strategists are subpar when it comes to healing you. As the singular vanguard for your team, your main objectives are to stay alive and protect your team. There is nothing you can do to help your team when you are dead, and there's nothing they can do to help you when they are dead. Majority of the time as the solo tank, you are going to want to stay near your team, usually in between them and the enemies. This allows you to take on anyone who is trying to get to the rest of your team, while also letting you be close enough to your strategists so that you can jump back and protect them from any enemy trying to dive them. The last thing you want as a solo tank is for your strategist to be up on the front line risking their own lives. You are the one with the largest health pool on your team, so you should be able to put it to use, leading your team to where they want to go, being the link to assist them to getting onto point and getting through sticky situations. If you have another Vanguard on your team, especially if they are competent at the game, this is where Hulk can thrive and do what he is best at, and that is to create chaos. You are going to have the same role as if you were a solo tank, however your team is slightly less dependent on you for protection, so you can actually go and dive the enemy backline. As I mentioned, this is where Hulk shines. For example, both teams are fighting for the point. The enemy tanks and DPS are focused on what is going on in front of them, and their strategists are healing them to keep them alive. Imagine that you as the Hulk go around the fight and jump straight into the strategists. What are they going to do except for try to stay alive? They change their focus from healing their teammates to defending each other from you, making one of three things happen. 1. You distract the enemy strategists so that they are not healing their tanks and DPS, allowing your team to wipe them out completely while you are having the enemy strategists struggling to survive. 2. You jump into the enemy strategists and then one or two of their teammates turns around to help them to fight you. This reduces the amount of enemies fighting the rest of your team, allowing your team to get easy picks off of them from the reduced heals and reduced numbers. Or 3. You start to fight the enemy strategists and they get scared and use their ultimate abilities, which are pretty much some of the best abilities in the game, just to survive your attack, which you would then jump away to your team because remember, you still don't want to die, as that adds 10 seconds that you're not in the fight, plus any extra time that it takes you to come back. In each of these cases, you would provide much needed help to your team, practically winning the team fight just because of what you did, or at least wasting some of the enemy's best ultimate moves. If you start to make a mistake or something along those lines, always be ready to jump out. Make sure to never get tunnel vision on one enemy because that is when things turn sour. Oh yeah, and when you jump into the enemy backline, remember that you can actually stun one of the strategists who has the better healing, allowing you a couple extra seconds to go after the other one without their health constantly being refilled. A great idea to keep in mind is that you should step back and figure out what your team is doing well and what they are struggling with. Because Hulk is so versatile, you can go from helping your Psylocke pick off the enemy backline to fending off the pesky Black Panther trying to get yours. You are going to want to help with whatever it is that your team isn't doing very well. And again, tunnel vision is the real enemy, because you cannot help your team with the enemy Black Panther if you just want to finish off the Adam Warlock who is continuously healing herself. For attacking, you are going to want to help your team to get to the point, and when they are there, you can then focus on the other aspects of Hulk's role. Remember that you are large and in charge, so you should be the one encouraging your team to do stuff and helping them get to where they need to go, be it the objective or through or around a choke point. Defending, on the other hand, is somewhat similar. However, you are going to want to get to the cart very quickly. Once at the cart, with your team somewhere behind you, you should put the cart between you and the attackers. This does two things. 1, it stops the cart from moving since the cart doesn't go anywhere if it's being contested. And 2, it helps to protect you from the enemy's fire, as the cart is a big object that can shield. While you are on the cart, you are also forcing the enemy team to come to you. If they do not force you off the cart, you are able to buy a lot of time for your team, while also making it easier for your team to get a further distance when it is your turn to attack. If you do get aggressed by multiple of the enemies and cannot push them back, you can just go jump back into your team, regroup, heal, find an opening, and continue the fight. Capturing the point is actually quite similar to attacking. As a Hulk player, you are going to want to be the link that your team uses to make space and to get where they want to go. I recommend going ahead of your team slightly in order to show them where they should be going. If you know one direction that is often better to start at, such as gaining the high ground first, then go there and tell your team to come with you. It is quite important to gain an advantage that you can use over your enemies. So a great way to start is by taking that high ground away from them. It is even better if the enemy doesn't go there, because your team will get an advantageous position, assisting you with capturing the point. There are 35 different characters that could be on the enemy team, so you're going to want to figure out what characters are on the enemy team and play accordingly, especially if the enemies are good at the characters they play. Here are some notable tips that you can add to your game plan for each enemy. Adam Warlock, probably one of the hardest strategists to kill since he has 2 heals he can use on himself, and his soul bond which can pretty much stop you from pushing him. Try to get him after he uses a heal or 2, and there is no point going for him when he's soul bonded, so just jump out and do something else. Black Panther, if you see one trying to run into your backline to delete them, go back and protect your team with a shield to stop them from getting that one mark where Black Panther can redo his dashes. This will stop him from doing his combos, and then just kill him. Black Widow, if she is by herself somewhere behind her team, use your jump to get over to her and pummel her. Most Black Widows don't know what to do against someone up close, and those that do can't do much against Hulk aside from run. Captain America, he is a pesky little fly that likes to annoy your backline. Try to get him from behind to scare him away, and do take into consideration that he can reflect your radioactive lockdown. Cloak and Dagger, if you are hit by the blind, the enemies deal more damage to you, so hide while you are purple. It is also really easy to get to Cloak and Dagger after they use the invulnerability flight move, since you have your jumps, so take advantage of that. Doctor Strange, if you see a Doctor Strange about to use his ultimate around your team, jump in and shield your team members. This protects them from being stunned, and if you miss, and they were already stunned before you shield them, it will most likely still save them from the big explosion that Doctor Strange can do to kill all your allies. Groot, pay attention to when Groot places walls down, as you don't want to be trapped or take extra damage because of it. You can easily jump up and away from the walls. You can also shield your allies when they are in Groot's ultimate to help them stay alive longer. Plus, it is easy to put your shield on all of them at once, because they are in such a close vicinity to each other. Hawkeye, they usually all use the knockback when you get near them, so jump in, wait about half a second, and then use your shield to not get knocked back. Then he can't really do much after that. Hela, don't commit to her as she can do a lot of damage in a short amount of time. If you see her use her flight ability, you could probably try and get her out of the game, since she has no extra escape moves. But again, she can deal lots of damage. Also, I think her stun can cancel your jump, which isn't very fun at all. Hulk. Usually, it is the first Hulk to use the shield that wins in the 1v1. But if you notice that their Hulk keeps harassing your team, make sure you are the first responder to the crime scene to deter him from continuing on. Invisible Woman. She is extremely annoying when you are trying to get out of a sticky situation. This is because of her pull/push move, which can cancel your jump, and the gravity well move, which makes it more difficult to move away. You can also see which direction she double jumps in just before becoming invisible, while also being able to hear her. Iron Fist. See how the specific Iron Fist player acts and try not to hit him when he's blocking, which would have given him extra health. Just make sure to keep an eye out for your backline. Iron Man. You can pin him out of the sky if he isn't too far away, allowing you to take him out almost every time. Try and jump towards your team to shield them when you hear him try to use his ultimate, in order to nullify the damage, or just stun him before he even shoots it. Jeff. You cannot stun him while he is swimming under the ground, and the people you shield cannot be swallowed by Jeff's ultimate. Loki. Destroy his regenerative domains. Figure out which one moves and which clone he teleports to in order to get away from you, and then he cannot do anything but die. Luna Snow. When trying to go for Luna, you can pretty much react to when she uses her freeze by you using your Indestructible Guard, then just smash away. You can also farm your ult charge on her when she uses her own, as she cannot fight back, but her teammates still can. Magik. Do not stand in the way of her little demon's attacks. These can shred your health and also provide her with bonus health to keep her alive for much longer than she needs to be. Also try to stun her when she is in her ultimate form in order to reduce the time she has for it. Magneto. Try not to hit his bubble shield, as it will let him use his knockback move way more. You cannot stun him in any way when he's using his ultimate, so your best bet is to jump back to your strategists and shield them before their impending doom. Mantis. People who play her often use the sleep at the same time every time you jump in to try to kill them. Figure out when they try to sleep you and use your shield just before. Then she should be easy to finish off. Mr. Fantastic. It is often not a good idea to focus on Mr. Fantastic because of his insane survivability, especially if he is getting any healing whatsoever. He also cannot be stunned out of his ultimate, so there's no point wasting your radioactive lockdown on it. Moon Knight. Destroy any unks around you as soon as you can. It is only 2 hits to destroy and it stops him from getting really easy damage off. You can also pin him out of the air or just follow him after he uses his jump or grapple, as he will have no other escape tools after using them. Namor. Destroy the little squids. Go after him, wait for him to come out of the bubble, then try and knock him out of the air. It is pretty simple to do when 1v1ing him, but it can get out of control when you don't focus on the squids. Also remember that you can shield yourself and your teammates from his ultimate. Peni Parker. Really annoying for you since her nest can easily do a lot of damage to you, and she has a 3-second cooldown stun, which can cancel your jump charge. Also, try to stun her before she ults, but if you cannot, then stun her anyway to decrease the time she gets to use her ultimate. Psylocke. She is better at long range, better at mid-range, and can dash away from you and go invisible at close range, so it isn't too great of an idea to go after her most of the time. If you notice that she is without her dashes, then sure, but still be very careful. Again, use your shield on your allies to minimize her ult's damage. Rocket Raccoon. He is hard to kill and usually not worth it, but if you can get him without his dashes, he shouldn't be much of an issue at all. Also destroy his respawn beacon, as it is better to waste 5 seconds destroying it than allowing one of the enemies to be revived to full health. Scarlet Witch. She can be a little frustrating to deal with as she has 2 uses of her flight, but overall isn't really that bad. You can stun her out of her ultimate and also knock her out of the sky if she is high enough in order to stop her ultimate completely. Spiderman, a very wriggly opponent which can annoy your backline quite a bit, so keep an eye out for him. Another thing to know is that you can also stun him out of his ultimate. Squirrel Girl. Dodge or shield yourself from her big acorn stun move, and you should have no trouble disposing of her. Star-Lord. You can knock him out of the air and you can stun him when he tries to use his ultimate. If the Star-Lord is competent, then it isn't such a good idea to 1v1 him, as he can shred your health with his basic attack. Storm. Time to knock her out of the sky. She is much easier to get than Iron Man, because she doesn't have the faster flying move like he does. Her ult can be annoying for the rest of your team, but not for you, as you can just shield yourself and your teammates, then just jump away. The Punisher. If he is in his ultimate mode, or using the infinite ammo team up with Rocket, it is every man for himself. There is no point trying to shield your teammates, as it only has 100 health and he can do way over 200 damage per second. It isn't worth risking your life for something that will only delay the inevitable. Thor. Do not fight this guy in a 1v1, as he can outdamage you and gain bonus health as he does so. It is often better to either run away in a 1v1 or get someone else to focus on you. Venom. He has cycles of going into your team, using all his moves and getting out or dying. If you shield people before he uses his ultimate, he doesn't get any bonus health from it, making him much easier to kill after as well. Using your radioactive lockdown on him while he has his shield from the E move is also a good way to get rid of some of the shield, as it still goes down while he is stunned. Winter Soldier. Both his grapple and his uppercut can cancel your jump, so he is really not one you want to run into while in the enemy team. Aside from that, he is actually not that bad to go up against. Wolverine. This dude can ruin you. If you are going against a Wolverine, then you should actually just save your shield for when he tries to kidnap you, plus those annoying ultimates from the other enemies. Keep your distance from Wolverine and do not engage with him, as it is usually not worth it at all. Well, that about wraps up the video. I am happy to answer any questions in the comments, and I would like some feedback on what you guys liked and didn't like about this advanced guide. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, please like and subscribe. It helps me make more in-depth content like this. Thanks for watching, and see you all next time.